Hello, friend. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining me. Ritual is needed now more than ever as a way to bring people together and unify them in a sense of common culture. The consistency and regularity of the practices is like a net or a membrane, where the members are free to pass through in a permeable fashion, but there is a predictable webbing and places for them to occupy should they wish to do so. There's a somewhat widespread backlash against ritual as obligatory or something to just go through the motions of mindlessly. But I have found in my personal practice that by leaving room for ritual and sometimes compelling myself to participate, even if not quite in the mood to do so, tends to put me into that mindset and facilitate receiving its benefits anyway. Everything that we do with regularity can be considered to be a ritual, from bathing to eating to exercise. Sometimes just showing up to exercise, putting on the customary regalia, and getting ourselves to commit to just a few minutes of it makes it easy to snowball that momentum into other activities. Having dedicated spaces, props, uniforms, or habits surrounding rituals, which enrich our lives with things like health, wellness, and community cohesion, is essential for cultivating mindfulness and presence in our lives. The trappings of religion can cause a knee-jerk reaction for some, but for me, these years of Pavlovian conditioning have rendered something as simple as a whiff of incense into becoming an instant portal to a heightened state of awareness. Just as Dumbo used his feather as a focus item to get into a state of bravery towards flight, there is no shame in using reminders to get us to the place we need to go. We really need to stop fetishizing some sort of pure practice as the end goal or our only correct way to meditate, pray, or live. The purpose of the elemental rituals is to provide a framework for us to practice and learn together a set of techniques to transmute and change the state of the energy which we are working through together as a group. In ancient alchemical practice, transmutation was a methodology for empowering an individual to control their inner world and state of being by recognizing imbalances of one type of energy over another and taking steps to recalibrate and bring that state back into balance. The cyclical nature of solve et coagula, separating and recombining, is a symbolic way of interpreting the processes of the psyche and gaining a greater understanding of what is within our power to control or change. A catalyst will usually be employed to set the pace of the chemical reaction, and we achieve this in our rituals through the setting of intention with the opening statements. Similar to calling corners, this way of setting the ritual stage in a digital space can be easily replicated or modified to meet your group's needs or objectives. These summaries are derived from practices we have been actively engaged in our Discord communities, designed for compatibility with a global community or social distancing. And in the future, we hope to bring these rituals more and more into the physical reality as a way to bring communities closer together. The rhythm of the scheduling was designed to create a weekly arc, which makes space for each different mode and intent to be entered into as needed by the participants, based solely on what activity is best fulfilling their needs. But for those aspirants looking to engage in the full cycle regularly, they will receive the additional benefit of the elemental modulation. This experiment is ongoing. So far the results have been very positive, and we have gotten to see some really incredible breakthroughs from individuals in our community, and an enhanced ability to relate to one another, be vulnerable in a safe space, and express profound parts of ourselves. A little structure goes a long way in establishing parameters and making it easy for even newcomers to participate and get value out of the practices. And in my own spiritual exploration, I have found that the alchemical methodology is very beneficial for identifying parts of myself and the processes that could be brought into better alignment with one another. I love the quote, "The alchemist substitutes himself for time." For each of the synopses, I will talk about the tradition from which the activity is derived, how to go about hosting it, and variations that you might utilize to tailor it to meet your group's needs. And I will also include the wording for the intention setting if you would like to use those as a template for developing your own. If you are using these in your personal practice rather than as a group activity, simply omit the cooperative component and focus instead on the elemental definitions and the qualities, and apply those practices as they resonate with you where you are in your journey. I will go over the elemental definitions in greater detail now as a follow-up to their Introduction in the Language of Astrology course, and leave timestamps for each pertinent section for your navigation convenience. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you were able to gain some value from the research that has gone into this and the experiment as it has been run so far. The element of water is associated with the subconscious realm of emotion, intuition, and feeling. The liquid state promotes flexibility. It can be an intermediate state of change between different forms or facilitation for different types of transmutation to occur. Water is symbolic of the primordial chaos, the place where life began, and which allows things to be suspended inside of it and gently supported. When the conditions are right, things come into being, be it a chemical reaction, a birthing, or a breakdown. A caterpillar dissolves itself completely into goo during the chrysalis state, before emerging as a totally new form. Its life cycle takes it through all of the elements and stands as a striking example of how the alchemical principles can be visualized in our own transformative process. As water takes the path of least resistance, there must be a vessel present to contain it and prevent it from spreading out endlessly. The bounds of that have endless meanings and connotations from womb to chalice. Beyond sustaining life, water also has connotations of cleansing and the ability to renew from a fallen state, as we wash our hands and seek out waterfalls to meditate beneath and clear our minds. The rite of refreshment is derived from practices in Merida therapy, based on Zen Buddhism. They use expressions of gratitude to come into alignment with the present and be at peace with all that had to transpire leading up to this moment for us to be here. In our version of the ritual, we go around the group expressing thanks for the tools, processes, implements, infrastructure, or anything that helps us to perform our tasks and to do our jobs. Showing gratefulness for the things which make our lives easier and the things that we value doing possible helps to ensure that we will be mindful, take good care of them, and not take anything for granted. Engaging in this practice regularly helps to combat resistance and more readily get into a state of flow. Keep perspective on what is really necessary and what creates value in our lives. Neuroticism cannot breed where gratitude is present. Mindfulness, as the antidote for rumination, speaks to the Polynesian concept of mana, our personal sovereignty and the presence of mind through deep connection with one's environment and place in things. Mana refreshes our mental faculties by washing away accumulated overthinking, refreshing us, leaving us ready to greet each new opportunity with an open heart and mind. Regardless of what might have previously occurred in a person's life, each new day is full of opportunities and chances to try new things. The sense of self and consistency of character that comes from our connection to our values, to one another, to the things which make our lives vibrant, and gratitude is the lifeblood of those standards. So, as the ritual participants express this thankfulness, the blessings are received in vessels of water which they have prepared to represent their daily intake as a reminder of good self-care and the importance of hydration in a healthy lifestyle. The water is thus blessed, and to conclude, the participants all take a drink together. Usually this rite is done in the morning and at the start of the week to set the intention for the days to come. This may include the ingestion of the magical bean juice or protein potions, which serve as a reminder of the presence of magic and alchemy in even the seemingly mundane. The caffeine which rejuvenates and brings us back to life is magical. It is customary after the simultaneous sip to bid each other the benediction, "May you never thirst," and the rite is concluded. The element of earth is associated with the solid state of physical reality, the material world, and tangible resources. The grounding principle connects our 3D body to our formless spirit via the mind. And it is important to take time in rooting practices to make sure we keep our feet on the ground while our heads roam in the clouds. It is common to neglect the needs of the physical body in favor of abstract conceptualization, but we do so at our peril, as the health and security of our shell directly impacts our ability to engage in mental activity. Wealth, money, and stability are commonly demonized as something lower vibrational or less sacred, but this sandbox of our present reality is what we have been given to play within, and we would do well to treat even our seemingly mundane activities with appreciation and care. Eastern tradition further divides earth into metal and wood. For our purposes, all of these material manifestations be considered under the dense earth element, and so can the plants and the living things. The chant of crystallization is derived from authentic relating practices taught by John Vervaeke. It emphasizes the importance of physical offerings or gift-giving in the form of creations of works of art, useful things, small acts of kindness, anything that helps to actually manifest goodwill into our reality. Sometimes formatted as a show-and-tell activity, participants are encouraged to present something that they have drawn or made or created as a piece of themselves that they are offering to the group as evidence of a step that they have taken to express their authenticity or exercise their free will on the environment. The others in the circle then take turns responding to the offering with validating statements such as, "I was really with you when you said, that resonated with me. I now know about you," and so forth. These are part of the circling practice. In lieu of the presentation of creative works, the participants may also choose to speak their truth into being in a statement about their values, history, hopes, dreams, intentions, or by sharing a piece of writing from someone else that they feel particularly drawn to. The most formal level of this practice, the Lectio Divina, selects one person to be a presenter. As more introductory group activity, this may be achieved in circling around the group to get the hang of speaking to each other in this very intimate way. As a team-building activity, they can also opt to go around highlighting things that are appreciated about the speaker, something that they have done in the past that really touched or benefited the commenter, or observations of kind things that they have been picked up on and noticed by someone else in the group when maybe they thought that nobody else was paying attention. Think of this activity as nourishing or watering a plant, which strives and desires to grow. Oftentimes, this kind of loving, affirmative language is avoided, and people might find it hard to give or receive compliments for fear it might be misinterpreted or indicative of an inappropriate level of closeness. So it is imperative that we practice and reclaim these skills of authentic relating. At the end of this circling activity, it is customary to read an oracle card, aphorism, little bit of wisdom, or a spiritual thought to crystallize the intention of appreciation and connection. The element of fire is associated with passion, spirit, and creativity. It facilitates changes of state through the excitement of the atoms and addition of energy into a system, accelerating or inhibiting based on its presence or absence. Not limited to literal combustion, fire can represent energy as a whole, be it metabolism, fervor, friction, or even strife. It can be destructive or creative, depending on how it is wielded. So great care must be taken in the cultivation and use of energy in everything that we do. In unskilled hands, fire can be wildly dangerous. As we see throughout all of mythology, it is a vehicle of divine providence. When Prometheus stole fire from the gods and delivered it to man, in the hope of making us their equals, we entered into a sacred covenant of free will, and exercising that carefully is our charge. We are ultimately accountable for all of our actions, and with courage, we must stand for judgment on our deeds. The sacrifice of sentiment is derived from Hindu and pagan practices involving the use of effigies, or ritualistic incense burning, to symbolize what Jordan Peterson describes in behavioral psychology as dead wood. That which is no longer desired or found to be in opposition of personal growth or the highest good is identified and then dedicated to God, who is the future to which we make sacrifices. This involves a personal willingness to give up all that one is in favor of who we could become. When done with intent, this outlining of goals can be a powerful motivator towards actually achieving them. And you can see this concept clearly enacted in gatherings such as the Burning Man Festival. Bad habits, problematic behaviors, coping mechanisms, toxic associations, addictions, fears, excuses, any of these might be outlined by the individual in accordance with their own value structure and standards to be burned away and become fertilizer for growth that they're looking forward to in the future. Just as the periodic burning away of shed wood material in the forest can promote health and well-being and prevent the accumulation of so much flammable debris that a fully destructive wildfire occurs that burns away the topsoil layer and the seeds that make up the hopes and dreams of the next generation of life. In practice, there are visualization apps that can be downloaded in place of physical fire for safety considerations, or for those logistically able to have a brazier or a candle. The procedure is to write down something that they are looking to do away with, weaken the ties of, or release the memory of on a little slip of paper, and burn in the flame. This can be done anonymously, as reported to the curator of the activity, or the group may participate in the presentation and discussion of the sentiments as the participants feel comfortable in doing so. A specific intention may be set ahead of the ritual to create a cohesive topic or a theme if desired. There is something about the physical burning that indicates a finality. In a proximal bonfire scenario, the offerings may even further be formalized in the form of straw effigies, photos, sparklers, or other types reminiscent of folk traditions which use fireworks to ward off evil spirits, or the ritual immolation of demons in iconic form to symbolize a desire to be free from malevolence or ill intent. As a type of campfire discussion, this longer-running ritual may transition into other forms of circling, sharing, or even a dance party if the mood calls for it. The element of air is associated with intellect, logic, and communication. The gaseous state is the most volatile and holds endless possibility for redirection and change. Flights of fantasy, daydreams, and imagination are hallmarks of the airy plane, and I have always defined it in the phrase, "to err is human." Air is the element that separates us largely from the other animals, not entirely, of course, but aspects of it such as planning, anticipation of the future, comparisons, and perceptions around cause and effect put us right at home in that domain. It can be problematic for our survival, as it allows us to subvert our physical needs and the reality we live in favor of abstractions. But when harnessed for good, we can apply our cognitive faculties to anticipate and meet our collective needs. Putting effort into resonating with this element has limitless benefits in enhancing our ability to relate to one another and convey ideas. As social creatures, this is the cornerstone of our collaborative society. The prayer of presence is derived from Buddhist and Taoist breathing practices and chanting. It is meant to be an assortment of short lessons introduced to the group to enhance the daily meditation practices, suggesting different methods which may prove useful to the people at different stages of their Sangha. Each week may vary in its activity suggestions, such as Qigong, Vedic chants, color breathing, vocal training warm-ups, or anything that might be beneficial to more effectively operating the lungs. Prana is the ancient concept of breath as a life-giving energy that moves through our bodies and supports our movement and function. and this ritual seeks to highlight that essential quality and the impact that it has on our ability to relate to and communicate with others. If desired, this warm-up activity can transition into a guided meditation, as some people who are struggling with silent meditation may get a lot of benefit from these more structured activities. Openness to experimenting with new techniques, looking silly, and using the social motivation provided by the group participation are the hallmarks of this ritual. On one's own, it may be difficult to fully dedicate to these potentially unusual techniques for fear of not doing them right, seeming strange, or just having trouble getting started. But by harmonizing with others, one can be emboldened to venture forth into new territory. In practice, this ritual has been difficult to execute in its original conception as a type of cone of power resonance chant, due to conference software having noise-canceling properties which discourage group chanting. In person, powerful vocal harmony can be achieved by gathering into concentric circles and humming together at a slowly escalating frequency to raise the vibration of the group and create a cathedral-like sound space. Digitally, we try to emulate this by coordinating physical actions to display breathing counts, and as these platforms evolve, there may be more options made available for group sound experiences. We have also had success by broadcasting a single chanter to the rest of the group to follow along with, or enjoying a binaural or sound bath broadcast together. So this has been a short introduction to the elemental rituals which we have been conducting in the Awakening from the Meaning Crisis Discord server. If you would like to experience them firsthand and try it out for yourself, you are warmly welcome to join us there for these or any of the other discussions, question and answer sessions, presentations, or activities that we have planned there. It's a very unique space that we have built in that community. If you are looking for an authentic human relating experience, I think you'll find that it's a very cool environment to be in. So we hope to see you there. I will post the link below for you to join us. I'm now going to go through the invocations which I've developed for the elemental rituals, as well as the light and shadow dance sessions which we host, and the prayer of gratitude that we give before we take our community meals. The rite of refreshment, the ritual of water. We call upon the spirits of Aqua, the conduit between all things, from the lifeblood in our veins to the rivers and the watersheds which enervate the earth. As the moon pulls the tide, so too our wellspring of mana responds emphatically with the energies acting upon us, and grants us intuition and guidance in navigating the flow of life. We ask for calm and serenity as we ride the waves of change, washing over us and forming us through our reactions. May they be well-tempered and in alignment with our highest good, and may that inner peace create a space around us for blessings to be invited into. Aqua, soothe us, refresh us, fulfill us. The chant of crystallization, the earth ritual. We call upon the spirits of Terra, the structure which upholds all things and allows diverse forms most beautiful to hang from its scaffolding. Just as roots buried deeply underground give rise to mighty trees so strong, our spines support flesh and give form to our vessels so that we might go boldly out into the world and do mighty things. We ask for stability and fortitude from the branching structures of the unseen fractals shaping our world and the physical laws which govern our endlessly serious play. May our actions be backed with integrity and wishes for abundance and well-being for all life. And may that wholeness branch outward and lend its enrichment to the world. Terra, sustain us, support us, protect us. The sacrifice of sentiment, the fire ritual. We call upon the spirits of Ignis, the energy that courses through our being and sparks our imagination into curiosity. As the heat stirs us to move and be engaged with the world, so too our passion drives us to search and explore all that creation has to offer with bravery and resolve. The excitement of potential sings out from every electron cloud, and we have a sense of all that could be from the fire in our hearts. We ask for vitality and resonance to give meaning and direction to all that we do, in shaping our bright futures with an affirmative love of life. May our sentiments be warm and welcoming, with a spirit of goodwill towards one another, and a deep sense of belonging and community driving us to co-create our shared dreams and visions. Ignis, excite us, embolden us, vivify us. The prayer of presence, the air ritual. We call upon the spirits of Zephyr, the breath that uplifts and propels us to new heights with grace and ease. Just as the atmosphere swirls, delivering life-giving oxygen to our planet, our breath draws it inward, charging our metabolisms and activating the processes that we use to make energy. We ask that the exchange of thoughts, words, and laughter flows between us as naturally as the breeze, and the light touch of what is right and good for us smooths away the sweat and strain of misplaced efforts. May our voices lift with joy, our aspirations be lofty, our expressions full of honesty, and the words that we select be truthful, useful, and kind. Zephyr, inspire us, quicken us, convey us. The dance with the shadow, the dark aspect. We call upon the spirits of Umbra, the underlying contrast which gives depth and shape to all forms. As light reveals the visible world, so too the shade accentuates that which must be delved into and explored. Whisper to us the hints of that which we do not yet know, or ought to strive toward for a more well-rounded understanding, and let us be humble before the mysteries which beckon us into the unknown. We ask that you pool under us and give weight to the steps we are taking. Show the fullness of the forms which make up our world and the potential directions we might follow in the cool of the night, to wake up in a new way of living. Through dreams, let us into the subconscious as we seek to unify and make ourselves whole. Umbra, sublimate us, enchant us, accept us. The trance with Lucio, the light aspect. We call upon the spirits of Lucio, the kiss of photons that grace our surfaces with illumination and grant us vision to all there is to behold. In your name, we offer up these calories and burn for you with bright intensity as we desire to walk in radiance and clarity. We ask that you liberate us from illusions, lies, and ties that bind us to confusion and misdirection. Please reveal on our shining faces the true intentions of our words and deeds. Let us be known with honor in all of the realms, and walk between them safe and free. May the truth find us worthy of dancing in the light, and accept our tokens of good faith and sincerity. Lucio, reveal us, guide us, accompany us. And the food blessing. To the God above and the foundation of earth below, we come together to give thanks for these tokens of life, which feed us and give us strength. We acknowledge the hunger and emptiness of mortality. We seek to fill the spaces of our mortal desire with measure and moderation, that we may continually transform that which is dead into that which is living, and in that new life give purpose and beauty to existence. We are grateful for the gift of life and the gift of this moment, to be gathered in the act of living and making new life from death. Grant us health in our vessel and strength in our posterity for all the days which we are given. And when death is ours to give, let us be prayed over as these tokens here, that we may return to the earth and be the gift of life for another. Above all, let our words and deeds give life while we yet live, that we may never hunger or thirst for death again. We seal this with our intent, for thee and for we. I thank you so much for joining me in this. I hope you find these invocations to be helpful in your process for the setting of intention and speaking your truth forward into being. Go with my blessing. Thank you, friend.